Hi empaths, welcome back to my channel and back to Journey Through the Tarot. We're talking about our week with the Knight of Swords and introducing the history, symbolism, and divination of the Queen of Swords. This journey is based on the book Dirty and Divine, A Transformative Journey Through Tarot by Alice B. Grist. She spent a day with each card. We're spending a week, and we're getting a lot of our information from the Tarot, History, Symbolism, and Divination by Robert M. Place, one of my tarot teachers. Okay, and we're working with the Waite-Smith symbolism in the Rider Tarot deck. And it looks like that. If you need any of those items, they are available in my Amazon store, linked in the description of this video. Let's take a look here. So looking at the Knight and just a little bit of a review. The Knight cards are about movement, right? This is about charging ahead, bringing the truth, aggressive, action-oriented, great speed to speak the truth. In full course as if scattering his enemies, skill, bravery, capacity, defense, opposition, war, destruction, wrath, resistance, ruin, fighting through a storm, finding sanity within the fog, becoming a force of nature, to position oneself against the winds of life, and, you know, the wind or air element. So looking back at this week, I felt like it flew by in a way. It went by really quickly. I had a lot of things going on. I felt like I had this experience where I was sort of pulling in my energy field to collapse the timeline and to make time go by more quickly. That's what I tend to do with work that's sort of tedious or mundane, or I don't really fully want to be there. I'm not fully happy to be there. I tend to pull in. And I learned that in my class with Cindy Dale this week when we were talking about advanced energy therapeutics. We were talking about the energy egg, its layers, how to work with them. And part of what I do, I've realized now more consciously, is that I pull in that energy to make time go more quickly. And then I never really remind myself to expand out, and unless I'm doing processes like this or doing healing work with a client or doing some kind of art where I feel more expanded. And that's why that's medicine for me. And many empaths, right? Many empaths and healers and alchemists are artistic. Art is therapy for us, and we're pretty good at it. So attuning to energies, right? And transmuting something into, transmuting the tragedies of life into something beautiful. So we tend to do that. This archetype showed up outside of me in my favorite supervisor at work. Embodies that energy sometimes. And I was teasing him that he's, always saves the day. He's like, has that energy. And I was teasing him this week about that. Remember, the archetypes can show up outside of us, right? Not just internally. So we look for that. And then we might consider, well, when that archetype shows up outside of me, what part of me activates, right? It's not always the same. We're not always mirroring. Sometimes that kind of energy will, activate the victim, right? Someone who's really aggressive, I might get into victim mode, right? Because that's something I'm familiar with, maybe. Something like that. So we think about that as well. We're building immunity, spiritual immunity, so that we are neutral for these catalysts. Something else with the Knight of Swords. I went to a full day workshop with Laura Day on Saturday, and it was interesting. She has a very direct energy, very direct style, which I really appreciated. I really enjoy. Cindy Dale is definitely more of a gentle, I would say empathic, like soft energy, right? Healing energy. And Laura Day has this, it can be a bit aggressive, but she's a psychic surgeon. She has precision, right? She is about evidence-based intuitive reading and, being precise. And that's such a sword suit type of vibe. And I really appreciated that about her. She's very honest. Her words have meaning. Cindy Dale is as well. It's just Laura Day's more precise, right? Everyone has a different vibe about them. So sharper energy, I would say, with Laura Day, which is what you need if you're doing things like healing a tumor, things like that, like that she's done. So I was just really engaged listening to her speak all day, and I got to ask her questions and engage with her, and she even like gave me a reading and said, you're a very intuitive person, very excellent healer, and she let me know what I could work on. Part of that is being embodied and present, and that will make me a better, more skilled healer. And that I'm really good at suspending disbelief and, using my imagination to create the new paradigm, but I have to stay embodied while doing it. And she was very clear every time we were doing something. No, do not close your eyes. You're staying present. You're engaged. And stay embodied. Do not merge, right? She kept using words like that. And I really appreciated that because it's very true. I need to be reminded of that. That's what I'm tempted to do. And particularly with healing work and psychic work, that's what I'm tempted to do. And that's why it drains me sometimes. So I really appreciated that reminder, that precision. And moving into the Queen of Swords, I can see how she could embody that. Something else that happened this week was during that day-long workshop at the Open Center, we opened it up the last 10 minutes to do public healing work. So we invited the public in. She shared the link. And we actually got Zoom bombers. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. I really wasn't familiar with it either, but like photo bombing, Zoom bombing is this trend now that classes are being held online in Zoom rooms. And so it wasn't exactly like we were hijacked. She shared the link outside, through Twitter, and then people came in and were like trolling us. And it could have been funny, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? So did I already talk about this? I feel like I'm having deja vu right now. I couldn't have because it was just this past Saturday. But so people were coming in and they were trolling. A lot of people were disturbed. I don't blame them. They actually hijacked the screen share and were playing like gay porn and stuff. It was very weird. I don't know what their point was. I mean, I'm sure it was to shock us, right? I think they thought that would be funny. But it was sort of just like, Laura Day doesn't attract the airy-fairy kinds of healers. We've seen it all. We're not shocked by that. You know what I mean? It's like, we're the type of people that have walked and worked with the shadow. Like, we're not pretending that doesn't exist. So I don't know who you think you're impressing, like who you think you're shocking, but I do get it. Like if someone was traumatized, I get it. Like I think there were a couple of people that were just like, that was shocking, because I did feel a little shaken up, not because of what they were saying or doing. They were using foul language too. They thought it was really funny. I was like, you're not great comedians. That's not really that funny. Work on your act. I don't know. Like it could have been funny. I mean, I can see the humor, how it could be funny. In fact, I'm probably going to steal that idea for a sketch or something, or a show idea, like a scene in a show or something. I probably will steal that, but because that could be very funny. It just wasn't well executed. But yeah, they were typing really rude things into the chat, racist things, and it was, I guess they just wanted to be disruptive, right? And so in that sense, it was like this energy, right? This Knight of Swords energy, where it was sort of like coming in and creating a storm. And for me, it shook me up, not so much because of everything that was happening took me out. It was just all the noise. It was like everyone was talking over one another, all these trolls, and it was just so annoying. For me, I'm sensitive to noise, and that was just like, but Laura handled it really well. She was like, we kept leaving the room, and she would start the Zoom again, and we would come back, and they would come in again. And so finally she just sent us all a private link, and we reconvened and just held space for the people that really wanted the healing. Like, that was the most disruptive thing, is like, people were coming because they really needed healing. They really wanted support in a healing circle. And we were primed from the whole day of being with Laura and practicing to provide some really great work for people and support, and to receive as well. And to disrupt that is just like irritating. It's, why are you wasting our time? Like, why are you wasting your time more, like, as well? Like, don't you have anything better to do? I mean, I understand that there's value in humor. I can see how that could have been funny. It just wasn't. It just wasn't well executed. Raise your standards for your own sense of humor. That's all I have to say about it. I just feel like I was really annoyed by it. But then Laura generously stayed for hours after, and she didn't apologize for that. She's like, that's life. I think some people wanted to hear her say, I'm sorry that happened. But for me, it didn't really take away. It was just like, that was annoying. But she generously stayed, and she said, hey, I want you to know this isn't just about generosity. I feel healed when we do these circles too. Like, we're sharing. And I think that's a testament to the work. And so I was so grateful to be able to be there with her and to have that experience. And if anything, it taught me how, the way she handled that disruption, I admired the way she handled it, and the way she didn't apologize. She's like, that's life. Life happens like that. We're not trying to pretend we're doing something other than life, are we? You know, so she wasn't willing to kind of cave and apologize about it. She was like, that's never happened before. I didn't, anticipate that. So, and many of us came back into the room. I mean, I think maybe more than half of us came back to the private room and hung out with her for a few hours and got to ask her like more intimate, candid questions, just share space with her. And she gave me really great wisdom and advice, and I just really appreciated the time she gave. And I didn't want to leave, but I also felt like, okay, I hope this ends, because I kind of don't want to leave, but at the same time, I have to take care of myself. I have other things to do. I have to work all day tomorrow, because the next day I had to make up the hours I was missing at work. And I did, and the next day was Super Bowl Sunday. Interesting, right? I could see how that could be energy that would be linked to football, Super Bowl, right? Charging forward. And not that I'm big on watching sports at all really anymore, but and I worked all night that night, but it was great. It was like a lot of time in between each call per customer, and I do customer service as well, like customer care over the phone, handling customers' accounts and things like that. and I got to spend extra time with my favorite supervisor, and that was a lot of fun. And we bonded and had like got to like get to know each other better through texting or messaging or whatever. That was kind of fun. And it was a long day. I was tired, but I earned some overtime. And then I also had a lot of stuff happen this week. So I also had my Cindy Dale class where we learned about the energy egg and manifestation. We worked more with manifestation this week through the different layers of the auric field. And I've studied, the energy field where it looks like a torus, and then also where it looks like an egg. I mean, there are different systems that teach different ways. And I guess ultimately both are true, but sometimes it's hard for me to make sense in my mind and hold both of them to be true in my mind. I'm still working on making sense of that. But I also had a business alchemy master's meeting, which we have once a month. I had that yesterday. Last night, and we were tuning into our vortices. Vortexes isn't the right plural. The vortices, our individual vortex respectively, and seeing how it showed up for us, what it looked like, the movement, worked on our goal through manifesting, through the movement archetype and all of that. And I kind of got confused about the movement archetype, and I think I kind of remembered last week where it was sort of like a unicorn, and this week it showed up as a stallion, which helped me understand, because at first my intention for the meeting was to have more inspiration, to feel more inspired. And then what I realized from that stallion showing up was that it would be more effective to embody and ground, and the stallion represented that for me. It was a black stallion, and with the 4 legs, that's a very grounded animal. It was running, it was galloping, and that can represent freedom as well. So freedom in the embodiment, embody the freedom first, right? So it was showing me all these things. And then I told that to my mentor, and she was like, psychic much? Like, my vortex showed up as a stallion this time. So it was interesting. Sometimes I do that. I tune in to what other people are doing. I mean, empath, that's what we do, right? So, and then today I filmed a podcast episode for Radio Play Podcast with my podcast co-host. We were kind of just catching up, and it was off the cuff. We were talking about her experience contracting the coronavirus, COVID-19, and her experience in healing, and her symptoms and how it all showed up for her, and the process of recovery, and then other things that we were going through, and how we were kind of looking forward to this time of the pandemic passing and seeing what the future holds for us. We all need hope, right? And then I did an interview that was long overdue. It was like just a conversation with my best friend, and we filmed that tonight as well. It was about life as an empath and artist, right? And he's in a new play called Compensation, and that'll be streaming, I think, the 19th for a couple of weeks. So I'm so excited to see him perform. He's just an amazing performer. I'll probably post that conversation on this channel sometime this week. It's not like any other video I've ever done. I don't know that I've ever had another person on a video on this channel before, except maybe podcast or radio show where I had a host or a co-host or whatever. So, or I was being hosted. So that'll be interesting. I might make a whole new series just with conversations with artists and healers. I don't know, because it doesn't feel like a podcast episode for my podcast, Empath Entertainment podcast. Those are more like under 10 minutes or around 10 minutes. I like to keep those. And so, yeah, I'll be posting that on this channel. I have to figure that one out. But another thing that kept coming up in my work with the vortex and that vortex meditation that we were being guided in was the queen archetype kept showing back around, because that is the archetype I put in my vortex when I was creating it, my newest vortex for manifestation and healing and embodying that queen. And it's interesting that we are moving into the Queen of Swords. And air is such medicine for me because, and I think the whole suit, the sword suit, has been really healing for me because I don't have so much air in my chart or in my system. And it's been supportive to sort of work on those things, and look at those parts of me and embody that. I do feel like I've had more communication coming towards me. I felt like that a lot today specifically. I had a lot of people reaching out to me today. And certainly at work now, it's constant. So I think I've been in the sword suit the entire time I've been at this job, which is interesting to think about. I'm fairly certain. And it's all about communication. So, and communicating mostly telepathically in a lot of ways, because we can't see what the customer's doing. We have to guide them and navigate them, and I can't even see what they're doing. So it's very challenging sometimes. But that's another thing I talked about with my podcast co-host, Leah. We were talking about, how we're communicating telepathically a lot now because, it sort of heightens that sense when we don't have the in-person communication and bonding that we once did. And I mean, for some, we still do, but for me personally, I know that I'm very limited in my contact with humans right now. I went to the gym a lot more this week. I wanted to add that because I feel like moving that body at the gym, and mostly mostly cardio, and then I haven't really been doing arms because it's still winter, and I'm like, I'll save that for when I'm actually revealing arms. Like I'm going to go anywhere. I don't even know what the future holds, but in the near future. So mostly working on abs and lower body and a cardio. So just to detox. And I started drinking coffee again this week, which mostly is because after I have my morning smoothie, I have energy. I just want something warm because it's cold out. And I noticed how I don't feel great after I have the coffee. It is dehydrating, and I'm working so hard on hydrating myself. So I know that it's not great for me. And it's sort of just a placebo because at this point, the smoothie I drink gives me all the energy I need for the day. Real energy, real vitality from the plant materials that I'm consuming. And the coffee really doesn't give me much of anything. It kind of just gives me a jolt and then it's gone, right? It doesn't really give you that long-lasting vitality you need. Then it also dehydrates you. So that hasn't been a good thing. So I definitely want to look at that and take that out again. But I felt really like I did a good job of just loading my plate with vegetables and making sure I'm getting a lot of nutrients in everything, a lot of antioxidants, and And one of the goals that I was focusing on this week was sort of preparing myself to draw in my life partner, someone who will kind of complement my life, who's not going to try to take all of my attention and smother me, but someone who also has a passion, also has a path, and appreciates the respects that I do as well, and that our lives are complementing, you know, and we're walking towards the same goals with similar values. And I can't be with someone who's taking all of my attention or expects that, or expects me to be like a housekeeper or cook for them or something like that. It can't be traditional. So I'm working on figuring out what that is. And I think it took me so long to figure out what my path really was. How can you find somebody to walk with you if you don't really know where you're going, right? And I certainly don't want to just follow someone else around in their life. That's not really gonna work for me either. So that's just not my path, you know? So I have been thinking about that, like who's the right match. I have been talking to some people, but I'm not really that interested in anybody. It is sort of like this detached feeling like, yeah, I'll communicate with you, but I don't really have any interest, like that much interest yet, which is good. It's good to get to know somebody slowly. So, so I have that going on, but I definitely feel like, and I just got some more Laura Day books. I mean, she's a great writer. And she doesn't call herself a great writer. She doesn't consider herself a great writer. She thinks she's a mediocre writer. She just knows how to convey her ideas in a way that's really digestible. And that's what I appreciate about The Circle. Her book, The Circle, which is all about alchemy, manifestation, and the intuitive arts. And then she told me that also she has a book about Welcome to Your Crisis, I think it's called. I just got that. I bought it a few days ago after she recommended it, and it just came today. So I'm excited about digging into that. And I finally feel like after dabbling in so many different areas, I've found what I should focus on right now. One of my intentions, and that precision is definitely coming into play with the swords, and particularly moving into the Queen of Swords. And you know, that queen archetype in my vortex, working with that archetype, embodying it. One of my intentions this week was to really be a clear channel for divine intelligence, and to attune to new frequencies and information that will help people transform and show them real results. Really finding my own offering, you know, seeing my mentor, Shelley Poovey, Laura Day, Cindy Dale, these women who have really found their thing, Krista Mitchell, they've really found their path and their message and their offering, and it's really unique to them. I'd really love to find that for myself. Laura was saying, you know, take one piece of what we're doing here and use it and make it your own, you know. That's what everyone's doing. And you don't have to thank your teachers all the time. It's really generous if you do, but you don't have to say their names all the time. And I feel like that's been one thing that's held me back so much, is that I feel like, is anything original? Like, I feel like I'm using pieces of everything I've ever studied. And I would love all of those sort of possibilities, right? That's the second layer of the egg, second layer of the aura there in the egg, that those virtual particles, possibilities and limited potentials. How can I really bring them into the physical layer and have them really concretely come together into some kind of, this is what I do. This is where we get the real results, right? And that's what I'm really working on right now and refining. And I think that's really going to come together in the Pentacle suit. That makes sense, right? Here we're really working on refining with the swords and all the ideas and the communication and the teachings. And so that makes me excited. And it can be fun. Another thing, I worked with a partner with the Cindy Dale class. We go into great breakout rooms and do the work on each other and practice. And I was partnered with a woman named Celeste, and she was a retired school teacher. She taught high school kids, and now she teaches, I think she said quantum touch healing or something like that. And she was just so lighthearted and didn't take it too seriously. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't intense. And I was like, I have a lot to learn from you. Like, your energy, I'm feeling the transformation happening in the movement. And so you're still very powerful, but you're fun, and it's not that serious. And I really want more of that for myself. And I was like, thank you for modeling that for me. I've been looking for, how do I do that? So that was really cool. That was a great learning experience to have her model that for me. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this week. I mean, I'm sure there's many more things that could have had to do with the Knight of Swords. But that's all that's really coming to mind right now in this moment. I think that's plenty. So let me know what's going on with you with the Knight of Swords. Did you experience some kind of movement or chaos or opposition, right? Someone trying to thwart your progress, right? Or your intention that you had to sort of battle or strategize around. Did you feel like you wanted to move more this week? Do you feel like things are moving? Are you getting lots of communication? That's what happened for me. Let me know in the comments, and let's move on to the Queen. Okay, so looking at the Queen of Swords, and by the way, I did a nude lip this week, and I'm not sure I'm loving it. I guess it's okay. I usually do like a bright color, lip color, so this is kind of new, but I don't know, figuring it out. All right, let's see. So Queen of Swords, this is Robert M. Place, his meaning. Smith's queens are generally influenced by the queens in the Solobosca Tarot. This queen is wearing a cape covered in clouds and clasped with a golden bird. Golden bird is the clasp. There are butterfly sylphs on her crown and the side of her throne. Below the arm, there is a winged head, which is the original way a cherub was depicted in Christian art. The clouds have settled, and the tassel on the queen's wrist attests to the fact that the wind has died down. One bird flies overhead. The queen is settled on the high ground, looking out to our right, with her sword held in the upright positive position. Her left hand is held out as if she has just finished making a proclamation. Her mouth is closed with a stiff lower lip. This card can represent self-confidence or the desire for revenge. It can also signify an official statement. That's what Robert M. Place has to say. So what might it mean if this card shows up in a reading or a spread? An air sign person, wise, cutting, good with words, leader, sits in truth, analytical, been on a mental journey, speaks with confidence and tact, cannot be swayed, boss lady. Her right hand raises the weapon vertically, and the hilt rests on an arm of her royal chair. The left hand is extended, the arm raised. Her countenance is severe, chastened, and suggests familiarity with sorrow. Can mean widowhood, female sadness and embarrassment, absence, sterility, mourning, privation, separation. This queen is free from the silliness. She knows the truth and she honors it, even if it is only an intuition. She reverberates with the moment and releases control, worry, and vexation. She is organized, timely, and ridiculously perceptive. She understands you don't need her. You need yourself. She keeps her energies tight and pungent. In this, she is free. I love that. And then let's go to the Biddy Tarot's meaning. I love Bridget's write-ups. You can just Google, and she's always the first write-up that shows up for each card on Google. Independent, unbiased judgment, clear boundaries, direct communication. I know when the Queen of Swords showed up for my friend when she was going through relationship issues, she happens to be an air sign, and she was embodying the archetype of the queen, and just gave such amazing boundaries and was a little cutting with her words, but frankly, he deserved it. So I'm like, Queen of Swords, yes. And no confusion about what is right. No confusion about what to say. Very direct. I felt like Laura Day embodied that energy, and I really appreciated it. The Queen of Swords combines the mental clarity and intellectual power of the Suit of Swords with the maturity and receptiveness of the Queen. You have the gift of being able to use your intellect and unbiased judgment while also remaining flexible and open to receive input from other sources. As you lead from the head and not the heart, you are better able to discern situations without the influence of emotion or sentimentality. You may believe that empathy or compassion towards others will distract you from the task at hand. Instead, you prefer to know the how, what, why, where, when, and who of everything to help you make sense of your environment and better understand others. It is not that you do not care about others, but you connect with other people through an intellectual understanding rather than an emotional one. The Queen of Swords notes that you are a truth seeker. You are open to hearing the thoughts and opinions of others, but ultimately you filter that information to decipher what is true and what is not. When interacting with others, you will not tolerate mistruths or excessive fluff. You prefer to get to the heart of the matter without engaging in too much chit-chat or gossip. The Queen of Swords suggests that you have an innate ability to tell it like it is. You are a quick thinker and highly perceptive, piercing through the noise and confusion to get straight to the point. There is no beating around the bush or softening of your comments, opinions, and thoughts. You are upfront and honest in your views, and you expect the same from others. For this reason, many people respect your opinion and come to you for advice when they need clarity. As a determined, independent, and resilient person, you have established clear boundaries, and you are quick to call out someone who crosses them. People do not mess with you, not because you threaten them or inflict violence, but because you set expectations up front, about how you want to be treated. Some people might be intimidated by you, but once they get past your tough exterior and develop a sense of trust and respect, they see your softer side. Love the Queen of Swords. And interesting, I actually had a customer, I think it was this past week. Could have been the week previously. I probably talked about her if it was the week previous, because it stood out. She was really harsh. I think she even was calling people dumb as rocks and just saying people are lazy, and she told me I had a listening problem and stuff, and I just stayed on the phone with her and tried to help her set up her account on the other end, and eventually won her over just by my constancy and my unwillingness to back down. And sometimes I have the fortitude to do that, right? If someone doesn't kind of penetrate the aura and create disruptive energy that I can't recover from, sometimes that happens to me. It shakes me to the core. And I think those people might be linked to some kind of darker vibe or entity or something. I don't know. I can't really say with certainty at the moment, but this woman I knew was just mostly bark. She wasn't trying to be violent or hurtful to me. She was venting her own frustrations, and I think I can discern the difference. So I eventually helped her, and she ended up giving me a good review. So that was really cool. And that description of the Queen sort of reminded me of that. So let's use some sound to further integrate the Knight of Swords and that experience, and use the sound to create an intention, to send out our intentions, to bring in synchronicities around the Queen of Swords. So we have a deeper understanding of the Queen, we embody her more, and build spiritual immunity around any harshness or someone who has cutting words, so we can be neutralized around that, all right? So you might want to close your eyes, get in touch with your breath. Beautiful. All right, empath. Thank you for being on this journey with me. If you've made it this far into the video, let me know by putting a queen emoji in the comments. I love to know who sticks it out with me and to the end of the video. I really appreciate that, because as you know, on YouTube, watch time matters. Thanks for liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. It feels supportive to me. And I hope that you're enjoying this experience and embodying these archetypes for the purpose of self-actualization, manifestation, and alchemy, and deepening our understanding and wisdom around the tarot symbolism. So I look forward to this week with the Queen, and I hope you do as well. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.